start with just a verse real quick. Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let's pray. God, we come before you today just humbled by your presence, and God, I pray you would open something up here, and that we would be able to throw off whatever hinders us, and that we would just be allowed to run the race. Have you ever longed for something? I want you guys to take a second and think about that, whether in high school or currently. Just have you ever longed for something? Now, longing isn't always doing something. Longing is wanting to become something. It could be a sport, a job, or school, but it's not actually partaking. It's longing for something. And in high school, I longed to be cool. But I had a handicap. I was homeschooled for a long time. We moved when I was in 4th grade, and the place we moved to, my mom didn't really like the school system very much. And so she decided to homeschool us. And Nicole can relate, she went to Tolson, so she knows some of the stuff that goes on. But so I was homeschooled for a while, and then my mom decided to enroll me in a private school called Legacy that we go to once a week, and then we do our work. And like, this place was not cool. Like, you go there, and there's students that like every week wear the same outfit, and it's like this sweater their mom made them for Christmas, and it has like a wolf, you know, like howling at the moon. Like, it's weird. And then I'm just like, this is not cool. So like, going back to high school, my sophomore year, I begged my mom. I was like, I need to go to public school. Like, I'm kind of competitive. I just need all that kind of like environment. And so my mom sent me back, and I remember my first day, I'm like getting ready, and I didn't wear jeans back then. It was weird. I always wore khakis. I had like 5 pairs of khakis. That's it. It was weird. And I got my backpack, my Jan Sport, hooked it up, and I went, and hiked these suckers up. Because when in 4th grade, that was cool. Like, you hiked them up, and then even like one shoulder. So I go to high school, sophomore year, one shoulder, hiked up all the way, walking around. And I looked like an idiot. It was horrible. But luckily I had some friends there who sat me down at lunch and said, this is not cool. After making fun of me for a little while, of course, and I took it, it's okay. But they took off my backpack, unzipped it, you know, turned my hat around, and said, here you go, put it on, okay, you're good. And that was a problem, because I longed to be cool. And that handicap held me back, but luckily I had friends. So we're going to look at the life of Joseph. And luckily, Nick already went over it, so I'm not going to go into full detail. But Joseph started out at 17 with a dream and a coat, and he longed for something. And his brothers hated him, his dad loved him, there was a lot of controversy, and this coat almost held a lot of it in itself, but it allowed him to dream. And this dream became his longing. And unfortunately, God had to help him throw off. As the verse I started out with, it says, let us throw off everything. And sometimes in life, we have a coat. Sometimes we've been raised either a single child, or maybe like I was a firstborn, so sometimes I was privileged in certain areas, and I almost had this coat, this metaphor of a coat. And I was allowed to dream, and these dreams almost hindered me, or they held me back from what I was supposed to be, even though they're dreams. And that's kind of like controversial, but that happens in us. And so sometimes, like in the first verse, it says, let us throw off everything that's going to hinder us. Sometimes we're unable to throw off our coat that we've been given. And so sometimes God has to come in and throw off this coat for us. And that's what happened to Joseph in the beginning of his life. It was forced off. And then comes the question, have you ever strived for anything? And to ponder this, I want to explain striving and longing are different. If you long for something, like when I was longing to be cool, it's something I couldn't do because I didn't know, and I had friends to help me. But striving is something where you're taking a little bit of action. It's almost like the practicing for the big game. It's not quite the big game, but you're getting ready. You're prepping yourself, and it's something you're striving for. Joseph, after his brothers stripped him of his coat, sold him, some big family problems, he got put into slavery. And he was with Potiphar, and Potiphar's wife. And he was in the house, and he was becoming great, and he kept being advanced. And Nick said he was given a coat. He was probably going to be a coat of stature, something to show that he was above the other slaves. And I can picture Joseph in the situation, and he's going up, and he's striving for this. And he's saying, you know, he had this dream in the past, and he's saying, God, this must be it. This must be how you really bring about these dreams, and you really bring me to the top. And God's like, no, not at all. And he has to strip the coat away again. And then Joseph goes into the prison and starting over. And he's building up again. It says he becomes well known in the prison. And it talks about the cupbearer and the baker. And he interprets these dreams. And of course it didn't go so well for the baker. But the cupbearer moved on, and Joseph is like, hey, remember me. And unfortunately he didn't. And I'm sure Joseph was thinking, you know, maybe this is how God's going to bring me up. This is how God's going to lift me up, and my dream's going to come true because I interpreted this dream. The cupbearer is going to remember me. And he didn't. You know, God's like, no, we're going to take that off. And sometimes when we strive for things, we're going for this ultimate goal, and we're all here in college, and we're hopefully striving for, most of us, I'm pretty sure, are in ministry. And so we're striving for something. We're practicing for when we get out, and like Joseph when he got out. And something I strived for a couple years ago and came up in my daily life was just like, it's like I have this ADD mentality where I always need something new and I always need to keep going. So like I get a new hobby every few months. And there was the latest one I had, it was about a year ago. I want to show you guys a video clip. It's about 2 minutes long because all my sermons were about 15 minutes or 13 minutes. So I needed a 2-minute clip to help me out. But this was my